Well, good morning, and we want to welcome you today to Messiah Baptist Church YouTube Ministries. I'm Paul King, and I'm the senior pastor here at the church. I've been here for 34, almost 35 years. And we want to thank you for joining us today, and we hope to be a blessing. We are studying the book of Ecclesiastes. Today we're going to look at what Solomon has to say in chapter 7. But before we read it, there's a couple of things that we want to remind you about. First, coming up on Thursday, August the 20th at 10:30, the Roadrunners are meeting for lunch here at the church. We want to encourage everyone to get out and enjoy some good food, fun, and fellowship. Also, I have discovered through some scientific research, just playing with you, but there are three things that are surefire treatments for this virus. Number one, sunshine. Get out in your yard and take your mask off. If you're by yourself, enjoy the sunshine and breathe fresh air. Secondly, exercise on a regular basis. Just do something. Get up and walk around. Do anything for exercise. If you have a pool, go swimming. Just do some exercise. Thirdly, laughter. Laughter does good like a medicine. And then I thought of one more. This is a surefire treatment, help for the virus, and that is praying regularly. So get out in the sunshine, exercise, laugh as often as you can, and pray. James teaches us that life is a vapor. It appears only for a short time and then vanishes away. Let us remain faithful till we hear the trumpet sound. Now to the lesson in Ecclesiastes. I'll read it in just a second. We finished last week by Solomon telling us that it is a waste of time and words to argue with God about your destiny. He taught us this truth. Don't just sit around and count the days, but make the days count. Paul said it like this: redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Now, chapter 7, which begins by telling us how important it is to have a good name and a good reputation. Chapter 7, Ecclesiastes. Hope you've got your Bibles open. Solomon writes, "A good name is better than precious ointment, and the day of death than day of one's birth. It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting. For that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart." He's teaching that while we have time, make preparations for death. And the best thing you can do, of course, is to put your faith and trust in Jesus Christ. Verse 3, "Sorrow is better than laughter, for by the sadness of the countenance the heart is made better. The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of myrrh. It is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than for a man to hear the songs of fools. In other words, it's better to have someone tell you the truth than to have a fool flattering you. Verse 6. For as the crackling of thorns under a pot, so is the laughter of a fool. This also is vanity. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof, and the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. Be not hasty in thy spirit to be angry. In other words, don't be quick-tempered. That's a lesson for all of us to learn. Don't be quick-tempered. Let me read that again. Be not hasty in thy spirit to be angry, for anger rests in the bosom of fools. Say not thou, what is the cause that the former days were better than these? For thou dost not inquire wisely concerning this. I'll make one comment before I give you the thoughts we have on those verses. But that last verse we read is teaching us, don't think that all the good old days are gone. You see, as a Christian, we can make some more good old days because we have a wonderful future. And the Holy Spirit and the Bible and Jesus is guiding us. And so we have a lot of good things to look forward to. And what he's teaching is, don't live in the past. Look forward to some good times and some good days in the future. In this chapter, we just read to verse 10, and there's quite a few other verses, but just reading to verse 10, Solomon offers some good and wise advice. Through the years, we personally have tried to give good advice. And I'm sure those of you who are parents offered some good and wise advice to your kids. I have learned that only the wise will heed and listen to good counsel. Wise men and women will never cease to learn. Only the fool thinks they already know it all. Someone said, and rightly so, you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. It is very frustrating to see young people wasting their life. Those riots that we're seeing in the inner cities are not only ruining the cities, but they are ruining the long-term life of those who are participating. They are destroying their own testimony. Solomon gives this advice. He says that a good man gives away, and he will always have enough. An evil man will steal and kill, and he will never have enough. The fool or the rebellious either pay no attention, or they don't have the capability of learning, or the will to do the right thing. Tragedy will be inevitable. A wise son or daughter makes a glad father, but a foolish or rebellious child will break the heart of their mother. Solomon begins this chapter teaching us the importance of a good name. A good name, he says, is rather to be desired than great riches. And even a young child is known by what they do. That is, early in life, you begin to develop a reputation. People work many years trying to build a good name, maybe not even aware of doing it while they're doing it. But it only takes a moment to do lifelong damage. When you're young, you usually don't think much about building a good name. You're busy working. You're busy taking care of your family. You're busy going to ball games. You're busy taking care of your kids, sick, taking them to doctors. You're busy with the PTA. You're busy mowing the yard, keeping the roof from leaking, helping kids do their homework. And sometimes people are busy in their church, just trying to do the right thing and trying to keep their head above water. All the while, without their even knowing it, they are building a good reputation or a testimony. Many men and women have failed to keep up with their responsibilities. Solomon said, I looked out my window and I saw that my neighbor's fence was falling down. Some people just don't care. Some people get into a lot of trouble trying to keep up with the Joneses. They ruin their own name and their credit. The younger we learn our own limitations, the younger that we learn our own limitations and accept those limitations, the better off and happier we are going to be. It is not a sin to say no to yourself. It is not a sin to say no to your family or your children. Sometimes you just can't do it, and sometimes you just can't afford it. But remember this. Those of you who are Christians, remember this. No good thing will God withhold from those who walk or live uprightly. And real friends like you, whether you're rich or poor, they will stay with you through thick or thin. They're not what I call fair weather friends. You help them along the way, and when you have the first sign of trouble, they leave you. Just fair weather friends. And who needs fair weather friends when we're living in a troubled world? Solomon had earlier said, eat, drink, and be merry. Now he's teaching us the value of a well-balanced life. Unfortunately, some people never figure it out. And I'll say it like this. Sometimes people figure it out late in life, but nevertheless, they figure it out. It is possible to be hardworking and responsible along with enjoying some of life's pleasures. In fact, without work, pleasures become a little bit confusing. No one owes you or me a living. Live a life of thanksgiving. Be thankful for what you do have. Solomon teaches us in these verses to think seriously about death. because death surely comes, and a wise man plans even for death. Through the years, all the years I've been in the ministry, which is over 50 years, we have had to help pay for funerals. Someone has to pay. A wise man plans and takes care of the matters ahead of time, if possible. What a wise man doesn't do is leave the financial burden on his spouse or his children. It costs when you come into the world. I remember my parents telling me the hospital bill for me when I was born, 1949, was $75. Oh, for those good old days. I can assure you, it will cost you a whole lot more when you leave this world. Solomon also talks about adversity. He tells us that it is simply a part of life. And I figured this out, and I'm sure some of you have figured it out. Just about the time you get one problem solved, another one shows up. There are those religions that teach you how to avoid any adversity. That is, they try to tell you how to live on a higher plane, one that is above trials and problems. Kind of like that philosophy that came along a few years ago called Your Best Life Now, or the power of positive thinking, like we can think our way around any kind of problems or difficulties. And I would say to you that those are not all bad, but the facts are life is hard at its very best. In fact, it was David who wrote these words, "Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers them out of them all." A lot of New Age churches seem to be drawing the masses with this kind of psychology, leaving off salvation by grace, and baptism. Nevertheless, the Bible and Solomon teaches us that adversity, problems, trials can be a very positive thing for our life. It can act like a refiner's fire. It can take off the rough edges, like the fire that purifies gold. Adversity can purify our lives, simply making us better people. The beauty of a Christian life is often seen after the fires of adversity. And you know, sometimes the beauty of the Christian life is seen during the fire. The trials of our faith tend to make us better people. However, some people, unfortunately, will grow bitter and not better. And I want to tell you, it doesn't have to be that way. Your good name will be seen clearly by the way you handle adversity. It also teaches a broken heart can refine and make us beautiful, both in God's sight as well as man's. Then Solomon warns against flattery, especially when someone is wanting something from you. He warns the righteous man against the flattery of an evil woman. He says that her words are like snares and traps. So be very careful, he says to his sons. Some people who are not very wise would rather be flattered than to know the truth. My granny used to call people a wesser. Never did know what that meant, but she used that word wesser when she knew somebody was flattering somebody, when someone was trying to get something out of someone else. The importance of being truthful cannot be overstated. However, the truth must be spoken. But it must be spoken in genuine love. You have to be very careful, because sometimes the truth does hurt. And so choose your words wisely. You're trying to help them. You're not trying to hurt them. Last thought I have, found in Proverbs chapter 27, verse 6, Solomon said, "Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful." The admonition is, do not sell out your good name. Guard it. Protect it. It is more valuable than gold or silver. Next week, Solomon will tell us or teach us about the importance of having an inheritance to give to your children. God bless you. We'll see you next week.